Tales from the Tap. My name is Frankie, and this is my co-host,
Dan the Man.
and we are excited to talk to you about the Pro Tour in Amsterdam. But before we do, Stan, you just took a trip to Florida. How was it down in the Sunshine State?
Yeah, I just got back from Florida. Supposedly I got a little tan, but I don't actually feel like I got tan. I wore a lot of sunscreen the whole time.
You do?
Yeah.
That surprises me.
Why?
I don't know.
The sun is a deadly laser. The
I didn't know you were scared of the sun, brother.
Well, I'm not scared of the sun. I just refuse to ever get sunburnt again.
Oh,
it's so painful. Sure. It really is.
Yeah.
Like the last time I went to Florida, I didn't put enough sunscreen on. And Winter was like, you really should put more on. I was like, I'll be fine, blah, blah, blah. And no, I got really, really badly sunburned. And like, it was like so bad where like you can feel the heat off of your skin. Like you're in the air conditioner, you hover around your skin, you're like, am I radiating? Like what's going on? So yeah, like, no, I don't play around anymore, especially with the kids. I'm like, everything, blah, blah, blah. She's like, oh, you have so much extra on. I'm like, I don't care. I'll use the whole bottle. But yeah, no, it was a beautiful trip. Had such a great time. Oh man, that was probably one of my best vacations ever, which is really refreshing because usually people are always like reminiscing on the past, like, oh, the olden days, this and that. And I don't know, I had a great, I was telling her, I was like, that was probably like one of my best vacations ever. Every day was pretty chill. And it really wasn't supposed to be that good considering like context for like what's going on in our lives right now.
Sure.
So like, yeah, I was like expecting it to like be kind of mid. Her mom, who was gonna come with us, ended up not being able to. And man, let me tell you guys, I had a great time. So I'm just really grateful, happy to be here, and happy that we got back because the freaking flight got delayed on the way home. I was gonna be home early. We ended up getting home like at 3 a.m, and I had to still come in and run the shop that day. So it worked out.
I feel like airlines are getting more and more criminal.
Oh,
like they are getting worse, and like there's more delays and there's more cancellations than like I've been used to, and I'm kind of flying a lot more than I did before, like just because of work. But on top of it, they're also becoming like way more savage about cancellations. Like I had a flight in August, and like due to some circumstances, I can't go on this trip anymore. And I was like, well, can I get like a refund or like a flight credit for that? And they were like, no.
Yeah.
Off yourself. And I was like,
I know. It's
okay,
crazy.
like that's $400 that I just like lost.
Right. Like keep yourself safe, buddy. No, it really is. Like I was actually kind of baffled because I've heard it happen to a lot of people before. It's never happened to me, but I don't really fly that often. This is the first time I ever got like, they actually also had to ask some people to get off the plane. And I was like, oh, dude, with my luck, it's going to be me. And I'm going to be late, and I'm not going to be able to run the store. And we had like a bunch of stuff going on yesterday, which was really important. So I was just so nervous. But yeah, I agree. I was like, I was actually laughing with Todd. I was like, hey, just, I might not make it home for work. So I'm updating Todd. And I was like, honestly, I don't even care who won the debate. Whatever team wins, make this airline shit illegal.
Fix this.
Fix this crap right now.
Yeah.
I was so livid. I was like, what a terrible experience. But yeah, it wasn't too bad. I fly out of Rockford instead of using O'Hare or Midway. Midway was like it's the worst.
Oh, Midway is horrible. Yeah, I like flying
out of Rockford. It's so nice.
I like flying out of O'Hare. It's
O'Hare's okay. It's just like the out of Rockford. There's like security was like me in winter.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, you don't have that at O'Hare. It typically takes me about 20 minutes. But there's all these food options.
Yeah.
And
no food options at Rockford.
Yeah, and like because
but lots of space.
Because there's so much like competition between other airlines, like everyone's on top of their stuff. The only time it's bad is when you go to like Spirit, which I've flown Spirit before, and they're like, ma'am, you have a purse. That's considered a personal item. So
$60.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I'm like, this big.
Yeah.
It's this big.
I know. Winter was like, I gotta put my bag inside your bag.
Yeah, like
I was like, okay. Well, we got lucky actually that we found some really good tickets. Usually like it's so expensive to fly. I think round trip for us was like $300, and then we paid a little bit extra for the legroom seats.
That's not bad at all.
I know. I was saying like, I was like, how'd you do that? Swipe.
Yeah, Rockford. Maybe Rockford's the move.
I'm telling you, man, if you're gonna go Rockford, it's the move. If you're in our area, at least.
I would, but after buying most of Jeskai Wizards
to
try and get ready for like the modern season and playing a deck that I like, I'm like, You got to help a brother out. Homie's poor over here.
Can
now.
you tell me the differences between Jeskai Wizards and like the other Jeskai brews that are going on right now? Because
Absolutely.
I actually don't know because I haven't had enough time. I was on vacation. Give me a little slack, but I didn't get to read all like the new deck lists entirely.
So that was one of the things that I know we're going to get into Pro Tour stuff later, but one of the things that excited me most about the Pro Tour was they were talking about Jeskai and how there are 3 Jeskai lists that are all a little different that people are playing. So the first one, the most popular one, the one that Javier Dominguez was playing was Jeskai Control.
That was one I saw and I really liked it.
Yeah, so all of the decks, let's start with what they have in common. All the decks have like Galvanic Discharge, Tune the Narrative, Wrath of the Skies, Flage. All the decks are playing those 4 cards.
I love Flage, by the way. I'm so glad it's getting played.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
When it got spoiled, I was like, I really like this card, but I'm afraid to say I think it's good because I was like, not sure. You know what I mean? I was like 80%.
I don't think also people anticipated like you being able to go, all right, I'm paying red from the graveyard with Arena of Glory, bring it back into play.
That's true.
3 damage. Now it has haste. It's immediately swinging 6, 3 more damage somewhere else. Like you're either like killing something really big with that 6 damage and gaining 6 life, or you're just throwing it to face.
I'm glad you brought up Arena of Glory because I actually wasn't thinking about that card at all. But I watched one of our locals, Robert. He plays pretty much every format, but he really likes aggro Boros stacks. And I watched him tap out for the arena to cast an Ox of Agonos. And he was doing like Hollow One modern stuff. And I was like, wait, what? That card just gives your Ox haste and you're like drawing all those cards and your Vengevines are coming out. I was like, this is really cool. I like that card. And like the fact that it kind of like exerts itself. Really, really interesting card. So yeah, they're playing that with Phage and then you're getting 2 Lightning Helix effects and the attack.
Yeah, so those cards are pretty much played exclusively across all of the decks. The difference in the main core of like Jeskai Control is that Jeskai Control is running like a 1-ring package.
Right.
So it's like it's playing the 1 ring and then
Manamu I saw.
Yeah, Manamu, untap 1 ring, draw again. And that list kind of is just playing like more traditional control and then just like looping your rings, playing more rings until you can, you know, have a Flage to kind of win. You've got like a 1 of Snapcaster Mage. The Wizards list is playing around Flame of Anor as their value card.
Yeah, I saw
because
like
new Tameo is a wizard, and they're playing 4 of Snapcaster Mages, so you're like replaying everything.
Right. And Flame of Anor is like so good.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's finally getting the love it never really got.
Yeah. So that's really like the Wizards list is it's around Snapcaster Mage, Tameo, Flame of Anor. And then the other Jeskai list, which didn't do as well at the Pro Tour, was playing... Oh, I'm sorry. The Jeskai Control list, I forgot to mention it. That's also playing like Teferi main board.
3 fairy?
Yeah, 3 fairy.
Got it.
3 fairy. Then, sorry, Jeskai, going back, the Jeskai Chant list. There's a new card. It's white, and it says like your opponents can't cast spells this turn.
Are you talking about Orum's Chant?
I believe so.
So it's the new silence, but it also stops attacks if they kick it.
Yes.
I actually used to play that in Legacy for elves specifically as a Taxes player, so that's the only reason why I remembered.
Yeah, and so they're playing kind of like a lockout game where they're playing Narset, new like 3-mana Narset that says like you can't draw more than 1 card.
I saw that with like Days Undoing.
Yeah, so they've got like 1 of Days Undoing, but then with Snapcaster Mage, they're basically like just chanting your turn, Snapcaster chanting to kind of faux. It's not like a full true lockout, but pretty close to locking your opponent out of the game.
That's pretty cool, actually.
And that's the 3 list. That list did not do as well, but Jeskai Wizards had a handful of decks in top 50. Jeskai Control obviously had 1 in top 8 and had a couple more also in top 50. Those lists look pretty good.
Yeah. Honestly, it kind of actually makes sense that lockout deck didn't do too well, considering how much Nadu there was. It feels like that's not an easy deck for you to beat. Like, you can lock them out so much, but if they have that 1 turn, like we were watching in like the feature matches, just the 1 turn, and it's like, okay, did they get the cycle going? Okay, it's over. And I was thinking of also like mono black. Like that deck is crazy. It just rips your hand apart. And so like if your plan is to lock somebody out and they're already ripping your hand apart, so your lockout is kind of unstable, and then they're drawing like 10 cards with Necro Dominance or whatever. So yeah, well, it definitely seemed like a tough deck to choose.
The Necro Dominance piece, the part that gets me, like when you can kind of do it with one rings as well, isn't as scary as like Necro Dominance. Oh, I've got a Shield Rid out. I'm going to draw as many cards as I want and gain an additional life for each card that I'm drawing.
Yeah, Necro Dominance is insane. I mean, not just for Modern, but like even Legacy, there's already a turn 1 Necro Dominance kill deck that Kai was actually telling me about. Shout outs to Kai. Judge Kai Explains Magic. He was on one of our podcast episodes, one of our Commander episodes. But he and Jack we were at dinner together earlier today. The one you missed for his birthday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Kai. But he was telling me how like supposedly the guy that was like making the Necro Dominance combo deck for Legacy was saying like it's like 80% to turn 1, which is like that's crazy just because you're drawing so many cards. And it was like 4 Elvish Spirit Guide, 4 Simian Spirit Guide, 4 Dark Ritual, 4 Lotus Petal, and it's like Necro Dominance, and it's like draw your whole hand out, tendrils or whatever. I was like, well, okay, that's one way to do it. But just like for Modern, like it was so cool to watch like Seth Manfield in top 8 being like, I have 3 Psalms in play. I'm playing Thoughtseize, and like obviously Grief is crazy, but it felt like so old school. But then like triple swamp play Necropotence, I was like, this is like old school World Championships, which is we'll get into a little bit more later as we talk about an old World Championship deck later on in the episode. But yeah, it was pretty cool. I overall was like pretty happy with how the Pro Tour went. That was interesting. Mostly, I mean, obviously there was some things we were like pretty much expecting,
right?
And Nadu ended up winning like most people expected.
What?
What? Nadu won? I actually expected more of the Tron decks to push Nadu down a bit, but it didn't seem like that was the case. So maybe Nadu is broken. Maybe we'll see. We'll talk more about the statistics a little bit later. But did you have anything to add on that before we do some housekeeping?
No. Only thing is to shout out, of course, there are like 4 Chicago locals.
Yeah. 4 of the locals for Nerd Rage
that ended up like being on the Pro Tour, and you know we
not just that, day 2.
Yeah, so we
as I was watching on Facebook, Mulayli was just posting all day about his results, and I'm like checking it out while I'm in like at a restaurant in Florida, and I'm like, oh, these guys day 2, like it's so exciting. Love to see the Midwest doing well,
right? Because especially too, like for us, like we've played, like I've beat Will Kruger.
We played RCQs with them all the time.
And like we both played against Connor Mulayli. So
actually, the last time I played Mulayli, sorry, my voice is a little bit. I have allergies, but the last time I played him, I like totally misplayed by not bringing in my temporary lockdowns. We talked about it on the podcast, and he was playing Damir aggro. Yeah. That was the event he won that got him his invite to go to the RC and then qualify for the Pro Tour.
So you could have stopped.
I could have just ended that.
Or it could have been you.
Doubt. Pressing X.
Yeah.
I was not playing well that day, but actually we ended up playing that day too. It was at First Aid Comics. But yeah, good times. I just love seeing our guys do well. I don't care who it is. If you're in our area, I'm always rooting for you, assuming you're not a dick. Just don't be a dick, you know?
Yeah, just be a nice person. But yeah, we are high on like being like Midwest is some of the best places to play Magic, and when we see stuff like this, we're like,
yeah,
we knew.
Right. That's why I was so excited with Adam. And I was like, yo, Adam, you crushed it, bro. He was on the podcast episode last week. If you guys missed it, we did an interview with the regional champion. And yeah, we're not going to talk about it, but he ended up having to defer his Pro Tour invite because he couldn't make it to Amsterdam. But he did ask everybody, like, I don't want to talk about it. Don't mention it. So we're not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
With that being said, though, yeah, shout out to our boys, Will Kruger, Theo Jung, Derek Davis, and then obviously Connor Mulayli, which we talked about already. Congrats to you guys for day 2ing. I think for Mulayli, it was his first ever Pro Tour. I don't know about the other guys, but that's awesome. Like first time actually showing out. I think he was representing RIW Hobbies, which was really cool. He kept shouting them out. So I figured I'll throw a shout out. But with that being said, we'll get into some quick housekeeping. The easiest way you guys can support us, as always, is our Patreon. It really helps us keep the lights on. It helps us support what we're doing. And it also is a way for us to reinvest into the videos. We want to get a new camera, get some better quality for you guys, eventually hire an editor to do like really, really good editing for you guys, high quality stuff that I can't really do on my own. I I struggle with our sound editing and stuff like that already. I'm always like trying to fix the settings that Streamlabs seems to eternally want to reset to factory. And
then I got to figure it out on the back end.
Yeah, exactly. And then shout out to Todd for always helping us out with like actual editing work on the video and throwing in the cards and whatnot. I really appreciate it. But a lot of that comes from our own free time and our own labor hours and stuff. So every time somebody joins the Patreon, it really does help us out, alleviate some of that burden.
And with that, we want to, we normally shout out our patrons the first time that they become a patron on the Patreon, and we haven't for the last two. So shout out to Jared and Steven. Thank you. We really appreciate the support for joining our community and supporting the show. It means a lot to us.
Yeah, with that being said, you can always follow us on social media. We are on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. We don't have a Facebook quite yet, but maybe in the future. YouTube is our major platform right now. We are on all audio platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. But if you guys are on YouTube watching, hit the like button, scroll down, see if you're subscribed. We would really appreciate it. Trying to get to 500 subscriptions, trying to get to monetization, etc. Maybe even get some sponsors in the future, who knows? But that's a conversation for a different day. But for right now, if you guys wouldn't mind subscribing, we would really appreciate it. It's kind of hard to do this segment. I don't really ever know what to say. I don't know how the other YouTubers write their scripts for it, but we just are grateful for anything you guys can do for us.
And we do appreciate those of you who have done it already. We will say that over the past month, we have gone up about 50 subscribers in a little over a month, which has been super encouraging for us to be yep, more magic. We've got a team event coming in August. I'm going to go to Energy Chicago and try and brush up on my modern game.
I'm excited too because we're going to be doing a team event soon with Jared, actually, who subscribed. So Jared and I just recently went to a team event in Indianapolis, and we're going to be going to the one in, was it Milwaukee? Milwaukee, yeah. So we're really excited about that because Frank and I are both high on modern and standard right now. So we haven't even decided which one of us wants to lock which seat. Jared is a phenomenal legacy player, so we're hoping to give you guys some good news on that one. But also, I think that event's on my son's birthday, so we're gonna win it for him, as Jared said.
Yes.
Jared, it's we're gonna do this in his honor. But yeah, with that being said, the last thing you can do is always join our Discord. It's free access. We do have exclusive perk channels for those that are patrons, people that want to get coaching sessions, get updated cyber guides from us, tips on their deck lists, or have us play their deck or coach them through a session, play their deck on a league, or play it on stream. We'll do a lot of that for our patrons. But if you just want to join our Discord and see the chat, we're always in there. We're always active. A lot of members of our community are active in there, just talking about whatever current drama's going on in the Magic community, whatever current up-to-date deck lists are coming out. I actually, while I was in Florida, I didn't have access to everything. I didn't have access to my computer. So I relied on a lot of our people in there, like Julian, shout outs to you guys, and Jared, posting all the good info, giving us the data, and letting me be able to read stuff on my phone that helped me prep for today, which I wouldn't have been able to otherwise. So yeah, it's a really good resource, and it's been growing. So I always stand by the Discord. With that being said, I think that's all the housekeeping we got for today. We'll jump into Pro Tour Amsterdam, I believe, or actually, kind of. We're going to jump into a little bit of a segue. First things first, announce the winner. Obviously, if you watched it, it was Simon Nielsen, who's kind of been on a tear. I don't remember how many. It was 5 top 8s in the last year or two, but
I think it was the last 6 events he is top 8'd 5 times, which is just crazy.
Yeah, that's
crazy. And this
crazy.
is the first time, congratulations for him, first time that he actually got his win of the Pro Tour. So
first Pro Tour win is always a hard one too. I remember a long time ago, I read an article from, I think it was Jerry Thompson, who my business partner Jarrett would actually play against him on the Pro Tour multiple times, and they would meet up and stuff, and he was always getting top 8s, but could just not win one. And I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, because it was a long time ago, the article was why I'll never win a Pro Tour or something like that. And at the time, people were pretty much saying statistically, if you top 8, it's almost you're that's the real goal, because winning is so statistically improbable because of all the variance and stuff. But if you can top 8 one, that's a real reflection of your ability. So top 8ing consistently was the the cope, if you will. I wouldn't call it cope, but that's like kind of like the best way to phrase it, I suppose.
You would have told me this when I kept losing in all my top 8 RCQs.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
because finally getting there was like, it felt like getting there was hell.
That's what I said. I was saying it's cope, but I was like, well, if you keep getting second place, you're kind of in a good spot. And that was like the T with Jerry Thompson. It was like, well, you keep top 8ing, so you're one of the best, but he couldn't win one. And then like 5 years after that or whatever, I can't remember the time frame anymore, he finally won one, and it was like so vindicating, so refreshing, you know what I mean, like to finally get one. So like shout outs for Simon Nielsen, he got one, and well deserved. The games were really fun to watch. It was a little awkward though with the whole Javier Dominguez thing, where the Twitch chat is Twitch chat, it's like almost as bad as Twitter, but Javier Dominguez had a 2-0 lead against him in the quarterfinals, which we were rooting for Javier because, one, he was playing Jeskai, which was one of the only non-Nado decks, and 2, just a great guy, easy to root for. He had a 2-0 lead against him in best of 5. Game 3, he had a pretty good lead, and then we, as you saw, or for those who didn't see, Simon Nielsen cast a Sun Cleanser, which targets a player after Javier Dominguez had cast a One Ring, gaining protection. So he targeted him through the protection, which he shouldn't have been able to, and that ended up turning the game around. And then after that, Simon gets the reverse sweep. And in game 5, I think like Javier had drawn like 20 cards off of the One Ring.
Yeah, 20 cards.
So, like,
never
dig
saw
for 1 Supreme Verdict.
Yeah, and he had 2, and he didn't see any.
Yeah, he like tapped and untapped One Ring with Manamu like twice in 3 turns in a row.
It was crazy. Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 turns in a row. And
they couldn't keep up with his hand size.
Like, please.
I know, we're just like Supreme Verdict. He did like Wrath of the Skies, all the tokens off the board, but like they try to keep the hand on like the side of the screen, and he had like 20 cards in hand. It's like, yeah, you're not gonna write all these cards down.
Yeah, no. But speaking of Wrath of the Skies, that's to me like the card that was so underrated at the beginning. And like now you're like, Wrath of the Skies is such a crazy Magic card in these energy variants, because you can go, if you've like already done a Galvanic and then the Tune the Narrative into a Wrath of the Skies, you can just go 2 mana, wipe.
Yeah.
2 mana board wipe? That's woo.
And like also the fact that it's like 2-3 mana, like even with no energy, Hammer Time. You know what I mean? Like,
well, and like with that too,
Cigar does 8, Hammer, and your guy.
Like just imagine, right? You have a Flage out on the battlefield, and you're facing down a Stoneforge Mystic and 2 hammers and whatever. You just go for 2. Yeah. I keep my Flage. You lose the rest.
Yeah.
Like, oof. It sometimes can be one-sided, and that also I think is very cool. Sure. I was very lucky. I think I ordered them all at like $1 or $2, and I got the extended art, like the borderless ones, and I got a playset of them. So I'm like,
that's always the best when you get the right spec. You're like, I want this card anyway. I'll buy it.
Yeah, and now they're all like $9 or $10 a piece, just the regulars. So it was
Modern Horizons 3 is such a good set though. Like across the board, I was talking to Todd about it. It's like, it really feels like the whole set is like across the board higher on average, which is like even like the commons and uncommons that are good. You're like, oh, a couple bucks, not bad, worth buying and ripping packs for. Good EV. Makes it really fun to draft because you're like, I just want to draft anyway. It's a good draft set.
Yeah.
Unironically, I actually played a sealed like last night while I was watching the Pro Tour. I was like, oh, it starts at 3 a.m. I'll do the Win-a-Box League sealed. Why not? I'll play some Modern Horizons.
Did you win a box?
No, I got 5 wins, man. I was literally so tilted. Both of my losses were like Arena Shuffler. Like, can I have a land? No. All right. But anyways,
well, that's like on Arena last night where I was sitting with you. We're watching the Pro Tour. I'm playing Javier Dominguez's.
Oh, on Moto.
Yeah, on Moto, and I'm not kidding. I got down to like 35 cards left in my deck, and I could not hit a 4th land to save my life.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
that's what I mean about the variance. So like Magic's statistical improbabilities are gonna happen,
right?
And they're going to happen pretty frequently because of how many games are played and how many games you have to win in a row to like, you know, win these events. Like I think the number was like 65% win rate was like a good win rate for some of these high level players, and like 65% win rate is not anywhere near 9-0. You know what I mean?
Right.
When you have to like get 7-2 or 7-1 to top 8 one of these energy events, you know, that's like way higher than 65% win rate.
Right. and with Simon Nielsen and like his consistency and doing so well and his tears, it also like I kind of feel that way about Seth Manfield. Like everyone likes to talk about Reed Duke. I love
Seth Manfield.
And don't get me wrong, I love watching Reed Duke. I think that he's a great Magic player, but like Seth Manfield is like the unspoken hero of like he just consistently does awesome.
Yeah.
Like every time. You're like, oh man, look who did amazing in draft again. We're all talking about LSV and Reed Duke and Team CFB, but like no one talks about Seth Manfield. And
I do agree. Seth Manfield's underrated.
I'm like, I love Seth Manfield.
Yeah, I was rooting for him so hard. I went to bed when he lost.
Right, you were like, I'm done with this.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going home.
And I did the same with Javier Dominguez. I was like, wait, just got controls out.
Like, oh man, Seth Manfield, because he got a game off of Eli. And I was like, oh, perfect. He's going to win. He's going to win. Come on. Just one super grief. He never got a Necro Dominance. I was like, it's not going to happen. Oh, man. But it was such a good tournament. If you have a chance to watch the VODs, the top 8 was actually really cool.
Yeah.
Until it got to like Nado mirrors. Some of them were decent.
Once you get to the quarterfinals, you don't need to watch anymore. Just watch the finals, maybe.
Some of the Nado mirrors weren't that bad, but a lot of them just end up being like, I think I watched one of the mirrors where it was like, not winning with combo, like just grinding out value, attack with constructs. Oh, that was some like old school modern gameplay.
Yeah. So if you want to just get an idea of like what happened at the Pro Tour, we're not going to like talk about it a ton. All the statistics are online. Don't check it on Magic's website because Magic, like the official website for the tournament, looks like garbage.
If you want the data, just join the Discord. We have a bunch of links posted. Jared, Julian, a bunch of our boys posted all the good links. I think we got Frank Karsten's data that we have in front of us.
Yeah,
we got that from a photo that it was either you or Jared posted the link to.
Yep,
which is super nice. It's way better, way more concise, readable, palatable in a way that you can, because like studying and deciphering data is already kind of miserable. And to do properly.
You're right.
So like if it's not in like consumable format, I'm just like not even gonna look at it. And Magic's website is one of the worst offenders.
Yeah, it's just like it looks really clean, but like getting to things is difficult. And then like
if you have a graph that I have to scroll on, I'm out.
Right, and the graphs aren't good. Like the ones that they post like pictures of and like play MTG, those are awesome.
Yeah. But shout out to the people that do those graphics, by the way. It's obviously work. It's a lot of work. But the people that get those out fast.
Like thank you. The real heroes.
Yeah. People like Fire Shoes and stuff that are like out there just getting data to people for free, basically, are just like godsends. Please follow these people, appreciate them, give them shout outs, give them the data if they're asking for it. Like I think Fire Shoes was saying, like, if you have a cool deck list, tag me in your Twitter post. You know what I mean? So it's like, get these people the data. They're going to share it with everybody.
We love it. So Pro Tour Amsterdam. Just brief highlights. Bantnadu was at 20% of the metagame, followed by Ruby Storm at 9.5%, Just Got Control at 9.1%, Mono Black Necro was 7%, Eldrazi Tron was at 5.8%. On top of that 20% that we talked about earlier, there was a 4-color Nadu at 5.3%, then Boros Energy at 5.3, Jeskai Wizards at 4.9, Mono Black with just Grief, not Necro Dominance.
Basically Black Scam.
Yeah, Black Scam 2.5, Jeskai Dress Down 2.5, Gruul Eldrazi 2.5, and then 25% were just 62 decks were just small individual, like here's Living End by Sodek MTG, and here's
the fact that we had 25% meta of like other was really cool. I know Jim Davis was playing it was like the green red Vengevine deck, I believe.
Oh sure, yeah.
There was like some people playing the Gorios deck.
Yep.
I just love some of these like offshoot decks that are like people have been playing here at locals, like tier 2 decks that are like fringe. It's like, oh yes, even pros are willing to play this. You know?
Really.
And some of them did well. I think Benchmine had a 50% win rate. So like, hey, you know what? Not that bad. Yeah. Considering how bad Ruby Storm did, and it was supposed to be a big winner. Yeah. I know that Channel Fireball, I believe, which was one of the biggest Ruby Storm deck people teams that brought it. Yeah. Teams. They said they don't have any regrets. They were like, we really think it was a good deck choice. The deck is really powerful. It just didn't line up for us, but we don't really regret choosing the deck. And I agree with them. People right now are like, oh, Ruby Storm's dead. I think Fire Shoes actually specifically posted like Rain Storm check receded or whatever, like some kind of weather warning.
Yeah.
I was like, that's really funny actually. But people are it's gonna be like, this is like the new burn / affinity of old, where people were like oh, Burn's bad right now. It's not doing good. Caught all my Auric champions or whatever, like cut all my life gain, and then it's like, oh cool, Burn just won the Grand Prix. Well, it's because nobody had any Burn hate.
Well, and that's Ruby Storm. I think when I was a little bit newer in my Magic journey, I would have had the same reaction where I would have been like, oh, this deck sucks, no one should play it. But when I saw this, it didn't really faze me because it made me feel like the way that Phoenix has always been in Pioneer. People forget about Phoenix, and then they sleep on Phoenix, and then
they cut their graveyard cards.
Yeah, they cut their graveyard hate, and then bam, Phoenix is doing like great again. It's at this percentage of the meta, and I feel like that will be the case with Ruby Storm. You have to like remember specifically always for the Pro Tour is that all of the pros kind of know each other and talk to each other, and so it's not a good representation of an open field. Because they're all teching for what the others are playing. And so kind of outside of maybe some bad variants, there was also people that were really teching to play against Storm. So 100%. It's like,
yeah, like, not to mention Storm is a plan A main deck. Like, especially this version, it's very like, I do this thing and that's it, right?
Yep.
And there's really, really no like plan B. Like some of the decks were playing Flage. Not amazing, right? For that deck, really good players are gonna abuse that the hardest. So like, oh, your deck only does one thing. Well, I know exactly how to play against this. I'm gonna make sure you don't ever do that one thing, and they're not gonna like fall for like the traps that a newer player might fall into, or the traps that like you might not know about if you don't play the matchups. And then on top of all of that, I think it was the most sideboarded 4 deck. I think I was on average 6 sideboard cards were good against the Storm deck in like every sideboard. So like average of 6 cards to bring in for a matchup where theoretically only one of those cards might be good enough. Like if you land your Damping Sphere or whatever hate card you brought in. I think some of the energy decks were playing that white enchantment that is like a hate card. I can't remember the name of it. Static Net, maybe? I can't remember. That sounds like actually a Thunder's Junction card, actually.
Yeah, I was I think that's a limited card.
So now, I don't know. There's like some white enchantment, like hate card that people were playing in sideboards, but like that kind of card was like there. And if you just land it, Storm now has to find a way to stop that and then go off. So
sure,
it seems like that's kind of like why we saw the deck not do very well. But if you got a good Storm guy at your locals, you still want to have like your whatever hate card you have, your Leyline of the Voids or whatever. Not that Leyline of the Void is even that good against them, but they do play Past in Flames. But yeah, with that being said, that was pretty much like a meta share breakdown. There was a bit of drama at the Pro Tour we'll get into. Bart Van Eden got disqualified, and that was really impactful because Javier Dominguez specifically was the player he got disqualified against. And the way the interaction happened was Javier Dominguez played a Flage targeting a Necrogoyf on the side of Bart Van Eden that was at 2-3. And Necrogoyf is like Tarmogoyf, it checks your graveyard for how big it is. So at the time it's a 2-3. In response to the Flage Lightning Helix ability targeting the Necrogoyf, Bart Van Eden cast Not Dead After All, targeting his Necrogoyf, and then going, okay, he dies. I'm going to get him back with a Wicked Roll token. And Javier Dominguez was like, cool, resolves, no problem. However, it seemed that it was an intentional game state error or game whatever the
failure to maintain game state.
Yeah, it's like typically a GRE, just like a something you'd normally get a warning for, but they deemed it intentional that he misrepresented the board state because the Not Dead After All hitting the graveyard actually provided an instant in his graveyard that would have made it a 3/4, and it wouldn't have died to the Flage's Lightning Helix effect, dealing 3 damage, right? So now this Necrogoyf that died comes back with a Wicked Roll token, and it gets 1 more power. And over the course of the next 3 turns, that extra power, that extra point of damage, ended up mattering in the match. So they're saying that that was not only intentional, but apparently the guy has priors where he's had other game rule violations of similar natures against players at multiple of these high-level events. And a lot of pros actually were tweeting, and a lot of other players in the community were tweeting like, how is it possible that this guy who's like a known cheater, which when somebody posts that kind of thing on Twitter, for me, it's like hard to like know. Like, I don't know all these guys personally.
Right.
I kind of take it with a
I
grain
don't
of
know their
salt.
history. I don't know their tournament history.
I wasn't there. I wasn't the one running the tournament. I wasn't the judge taking the call. So I kind of take some of that stuff with a grain of salt personally.
I agree.
But people were saying, like, a lot of people, and I was getting the opinions of like different players and different people online and asking like different judges what they thought, anybody that was familiar with the situation. And it seemed like the consensus was he's like a known cheater that has done a lot of this in the past, and pretty much everybody like knows about it, but they never got him, like, they had never had like proof of it. So because this was a feature match, it was kind of like the thing. What was interesting though specifically is I have never ever seen this, and I think Todd Anderson tweeted it as well. He was like, I've never in my life ever seen this in the history of Magic. So kind of a big deal. They overruled the match because Javier Dominguez lost that match as a result of the incorrect board state. They disqualified Bart and then said, we're going to change the result to Javier winning the match. That's
because of the disqualification.
huge.
Yeah, it was in the ruling of the DQ, which was wild.
Insane, because it was already like it was already reported, etc. And I believe there was like probably moving to the next round, if I'm not mistaken. And that's usually like, well, sorry, you know. But also like usually like I tell people at pre-release, call me in the moment. I can't undo a board state, but I can give you a time extension.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So like they never ever do that. And so I asked Kaya about it today at his birthday party. I was like, so you're a judge, and he knows a lot of judges. I was like, it felt to me like that overruling that felt like a change in like the judge philosophy that we've kind of been talking about in the past, where you drawing an extra card 10 years ago would have been a game loss. Where now it's like, hey, don't do that. We have a fix now. It's a warning. If you get 3 of these, then you're gonna get a game loss or whatever. And if it happens more than that many times, we're gonna disqualify you if we think you're cheating, etc.
Yeah.
So they're really more like involved in the judging at a fair level, which I really like. And it's more like it's less feels bad, which I really like, because it shouldn't really feel that way. Right. It should be like, let's try to fix this as best as possible in good faith. And so the fact that they were willing to overturn the ruling, to me, seemed like they are kind of changing their minds on some of like the old archaic ways that we used to handle situations.
Right, because I think that in the old scenarios, the problem is that, right, for me, if you were the one that cheated against me, not only did I have the experience of you cheating, but then I'm also like punished in the brackets for it, when that's also not my fault.
Right.
So the fact that they are moving away from like this double feels bad is like,
yeah. And I kind of more or less agreed with me. He's like, yeah, I actually think it's that. He's like, I hope it's that. And I really think it most likely is, because obviously we have scenarios like we talked about with that one disqualification, the double DQ, where the guy lost his chance to the Pro Tour. And like we've had multiple examples of like really bad judges and stuff like that in the past, and it happens. There's either like bad rulings or bad judges, and hopefully those bad judges get removed, and hopefully the bad rulings, we figure out why it happened and prevent it from happening in the future. And if it affected somebody, that sucks, but we try and, I mean, there's going to be mistakes, right? But if we are in good faith trying to do the best thing for the players and the best thing for the game, it really felt good, because like with Javier Dominguez missing the fact that he had protection, a lot of people in the Twitch chat were like, Simon's like cheating. He cheated him. It's like, well, first of all, these guys are friends. You know what I mean?
Right, and they're on the same team. They're both on Team Handshake.
They are good friends. They know each other. And you can hear their voices on the camera during the game. Like he was like apologizing about it. Like, hey, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to do that. They both like unraveled the board state together with the judge. Like, this is what should have happened, you know, but it is what it is. And, like talked it through, and they were like, it felt like they were playing at a locals at the top level. Like I think Simon even said in his post-game interview, he's like, yeah, sometimes you forget you're in the quarterfinals because you're playing with your friend. And it's so like, it could have very easily been like a harsh judge being like, you cheated that, you know. And it's like, well, where very clearly he didn't, you know.
Right. It was just like, you know, especially in a game that's as complex as Magic, there are right, you play some decks where there are so many triggers and so many things happening that you have to remember that.
Agreed. 100%.
Yeah, it's not like I'm not trying to forget that this thing was supposed to happen.
No, it's true. It's like Kai had a really good point. Actually, I keep talking about Kai, but I talked to him a lot about it today at his birthday party earlier today. He was like, listen, nobody has ever played Sun Cleanser, ever, unironically. So, like, in your brain, you're like, oh, yeah, what does that card do? Okay, got it. You know? But if you, like, are used to a trigger happening, you're like, oh, that doesn't work that way. Like, if like, for example, when you learn how Bolt works with Tarmogoyf, and you're like, oh, it grows, it doesn't die, you kind of like never forget that. But the first time, you might miss it. You know what I mean? If you are first time seeing a Sun Cleanser, you're not going to be like super focused on the fact that it's targeting. You're like, wait, this guy has what?
He's removing counters. Oh, okay. Cool.
All right, you got me.
Yeah.
So like, I just thought it was so funny when he said that. I was like, yeah, I mean, no, who's ever played Sun Cleanser?
Yeah, no one.
Oh man. But yeah, that was the drama, and I don't know. Did you have any thoughts on it specifically, the way it was handled, or anything like that?
No, I just think that it's just important to know that, right, when the card was cast on another Goyf and it becoming a 3/4, like that, it comes in tapped, Wicked Roll token. It's also the Wicked Roll token that, like, when it dies also causes additional damage. And so there's so many parts of it that are like, oh, that stuff does matter over time. Like, even though it was just a small advantage in a moment, that small advantage over multiple turns changes a whole game.
Yeah, I agree, because I've seen it in the past, and it's really unfortunate, but I've seen it, and I've heard stories from people I trust where, like, high level players will, like, angle shoot, whatever you want to call it, lie, misrepresent the board state in ways that are clearly, like, unethical. Yeah. Even if they're legal plays. But if they're illegal plays, then it's like even worse. You're just cheating. And like like I had a friend who actually lost to a pro player, and the pro player had 3 Vendilion clicks in play, but he didn't realize they were legendary because it was a new card at the time. So he was like, Jerry was telling me how he's like, I got my ass beat, man. This guy was playing these 3/1 flyers, and they took cards out of my hand, and he's like, how did he have 3 of them? But it's like there's no way the pro player didn't know it's a legendary creature. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And there's no way Bart is like playing this new card at the top level, grinding 10 hours a day with the deck, remembering to check his graveyard for what the PT is. And
on top of it, Nethergoyf is just a spin-off of Tarmogoyf.
Right.
So it's not like this is a new thing
it's not
to
new
Magic.
for them,
It's
right.
not a new ability.
Yeah, my when I first heard that happened, I thought that he was cheating by using both graveyards.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, that would be so scummy. Like, because like then the card is broken. Like, right? Like,
well, and I don't know if they were always recorded, but now, like, seeing it on, like, because it was a feature match, which is on camera for them to just go back and check the VOD. I'd be like, why would you ever cheat? And on a camera, we can look back at it, brother.
And that's the thing, though. And I've heard it from other people. It's like cheaters don't stop; they simply get caught. You know what I mean? So they get more and more brazen when they get not caught for so long. You know, or maybe they even have defenders like, oh, you guys are just, hating, blah blah blah. It's like, we're not hating, man. Like, this guy has had really sus situations, and enough points on a graph make a line. So it's like, I don't know. It really, I don't know. It really is like a terrible situation. I hate when that kind of stuff happens, but I'm glad that they like actually did something about it in like a reasonable way, and it felt like everybody more or less, the takeaway was that people were happy. Like, I know there was like a lot of people on Twitter going like, he got TQ'd, told you, like, this is the guy, he's always cheating, and we predicted it, you know? So it's like, well, if he was really this known cheater that has been scumming people for so long, and he finally got caught and justifiably punished for it, good,
Yeah, and I don't care about that part as much as I care about we're handling the rules in a way that is better.
Yeah,
Like
100%.
it just feels like, I don't think anyone's like, well, that's an unfair ruling. Javier Dominguez didn't get a win. The guy cheated.
Yeah.
So yes, he did. Like,
Right.
it's just like, I think that it's just being handled in a better way, and that's what's exciting about it for me.
I agree, because from playing Magic a lot in the past, some of the rulings would be really, really feels bad. And I'm a player that's usually like willing to help my opponent out a little bit if I can tell that they're like messing up a ruling. I'm like, hey man, that's not how that works, just so you know. And sometimes it's to my detriment, but it's just the nature of how I am. I don't care if it costs me a game. I'm not gonna like scum somebody unless it's like a judge call. Like if they call judge on me and the judge goes, okay, do you want this on the stack? I'll assess the board state, and if it wins me the game, I'll take it. And if it would lose me the game without it, I'll take it. But like, should it just make the match even again, I'll like usually let it go. I'm like, well, whatever. I want to win legitimately, type of thing.
Right.
But it's still like kind of crazy that happens at the top level. And I hope like people just like see that and are really discouraged from it, you know, because there's been way more than just this guy cheating on camera. And you could even argue, he could even be like, oh, I didn't realize it was an honest mistake. Because like I've seen on camera legitimate actual cheating where it's like, oh, I stacked the guy's card on top of the deck. I cast, I think there was one with like Bertoncini, who gets a lot of flack because he cheated multiple times. Even though I'm still friends with him on Facebook or whatever. That dude has cheated so many times in Magic. And one of the plays that they used to do was they would cast a spell that was the top of their graveyard, and then instead of so this is how they do it. They'd lay out their you see the top down board state. Great. The card specifically was a counter spell. So like deck, graveyard, top card of the graveyard is the spell you're casting, and you're casting the spell again. So he goes counter spell, leaves it in the middle of the board state. And then opponent goes, yep, resolves. They start picking their stuff up. And then while they're not looking, you're kind of like, cool. You pick it up and you motion towards the graveyard, and then you just put it right back in your hand. And then I watched on camera the dude cast the same counter spell 2 turns in a row. And like even the commentators were like, wait, didn't that go to the graveyard? Or no, it's on top of the graveyard. So, you know what I mean? And like that kind of stuff, you know, people just don't notice it. And so like, I thought about even writing an article about it before for the store, where I'm like, here's how people cheat. Here's the common methods. Here's what to look out for. Kind of sad that it is what it is, but you know, people will cheat and you should know about it. So like, I do talk to my like personal friends, like, oh, watch out for this. Watch out for this. Oh, this deck can do this. And like, even like certain decks have like certain ways they can specifically just cheat by the nature of how they shuffle, or like any order versus random order, stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember watching a YouTube video about like the top 10 cheaters in Magic history, and like when you get to the very last guy, it was similar to like what this guy did, where it was like not egregious but small, and small errors at many events.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
not like a, and that's how he got away with it for so long, was because he was just like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
Yes.
But then that happened so frequently that it was like, oh, he's super cheating.
Right.
And he got like mega banned.
Yeah, and that seems to be the case with Bart, where it's like, okay, he's done this how many times? How many game rule violations has he gotten? How many warnings? They track the warnings now, by the way, especially in Event Link. It's a lot better than DCI. All your game warnings are tracked. If they ever want to be like, does this guy have a pattern? You know what I mean?
I didn't know that.
It's very
I'd like to go see how many I have. I don't.
I think they keep that internally. I just know that they have us report tickets for every violation, and then whatever they do with it on their end is up to them.
News to me. The last thing I wanted to talk about before we can kind of get into our final segment is just like, hey, with Pro Tour, with the fact that we saw 2 Necro Dominants, 1 Jeskai Control, and the rest were Nadu.
Yeah.
Like, you know, coming out of Pro Tour, I know that all of us were kind of feeling like, oh man, big bad Nadu. But we, before the episode, had a little bit of a difference on like what we think is going to be.
Oh,
so, like,
yeah,
you know,
true. Let's talk about it. So I think what you're referencing to is the ban coming up at the end of August.
Yes.
So the next BNR window is at the end of August, which is a day. Oh, I thought
it's the day after we get back. I think it's the 26th, which is a Monday, and we go to the tournament at Energy on the 24th, 25th.
Yeah,
so
okay.
It's the 26th, a Monday. They always do bands on a Monday.
Right. Yeah. So the Nerd Rage Trios event we're going to is at the end of August, but the day after is the BNR. So we have to be prepped for this version of Modern, which technically does have Assassin's Creed now. But yeah. So I had a lot of feelings going into it, and then seeing how the quarterfinals went and the finals went, with it being a Nadu sweep. I at first was like, oh, I'm pretty sure they're not going to ban Nadu, because if you looked at the article they posted for the BNR like a week or two ago, I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, and it said like Nadu's raised early concerns, but we're going to see how it goes.
Yeah, that article is very much like, we want to see how it goes. There's like these 8 other decks. Here's a list of the decks that have won the online challenges, which to be fair, like 9 different decks won like online challenges, and they were all like new stuff, whether it was an energy variant, Necrodominance, etc. And I think that's really cool. I think there's a lot to be said. Going into it, when we saw the metagame breakdown, before anybody started playing Modern, I expected Tron, the new Prison Tron, with Devour of Destinies and stuff like that, to do very well, and Ugin's Labyrinth, etc. Because they can play turn 1 Chalice, turn 2 Trinisphere. That's really good against a lot of decks. And then if you don't want the turn 1 Chalice, just the turn 2 Trinisphere into like maybe a Chalice on 2 type of thing. That kind of thing can be pretty scary for a lot of decks. And then obviously the fact that they can just ramp into like All Is Dust and stuff like that, a lot better than Supreme Verdict might be in some scenarios, especially because you get to keep your stuff. They're getting rid of all their stuff in the Nadu deck. And Karn turns off their ability to equip Shuko, and then you have all the sideboard hate. So I felt like Karn, at least Tron, to me, like Tron felt, especially if you're playing Classic Tron, I felt like I would be okay with playing against Nadu decks in their current iteration. So I was like, okay, so some of these Eldrazi decks probably will prey on Nadu a little bit, and then none of them got to top 8, although there was a decent amount of them in the day 2 and like the top 32, etc.
Yes, absolutely.
So like it's not like the deck did bad, but none of them top 8'd. That's what I was kind of hoping for. I really wanted one Eldrazi deck to sneak through and really crush top 8 full of Nadus. But it didn't really happen that way, and maybe it's because Nadu's too resilient. But also the mono black deck, I thought the deck was very good, and a deck that's like right up my alley as well. I love Thoughtseize. It's probably like top 3 my favorite card of all time is Thoughtseize. I think that's one of my favorite things to be doing, especially against a new player, when I want to teach them like, hey, you want to see the difference between me and you? I'm gonna play a Thoughtseize deck. You know what I mean? Like that's like kind of how you like really put the pressure on a player. And this version with Necrodominance and Grief and their ability to refill their hand, and like now the addition of $100 Soul Spikes, pitching cards that they don't need anymore because they drew too many, to like free War Leader's Helix because it's 4 damage to any target. It's so crazy. Honestly, I mean I'm not surprised because it's Necrodominance drawing you cards. Why Soul Spike is so good. But that card specifically, I'm surprised it took this long for people to start figuring it out. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because Commandeer's already kind of been doing its thing forever.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, I can definitely see them ban. Like if I expected a ban, like if there has to be a ban, I would expect Grief Nadu, right? And if they want it to be like really, really soft, maybe just Shuko. Those are like easy predictions. Sure. I think what people are already talking about. But if I'm being honest with myself, I fully expect no bans.
That would hurt me. That would hurt me bad. The reason why we brought this up and why I wanted to talk about it was just because, like, I think that we expected what happened at the Pro Tour to happen at the Pro Tour, and it did. Not did very well. And when we got to semifinals and it was Nadu, I was like, I don't want to watch this. I'm done.
I agree. And I didn't want to watch it either.
But the thing is like with what you're saying, do I think that Nadu should probably be banned? Sure. I think that every creature having that ability is kind of broken. Even if you just put it on itself and nothing else, that'd still be like, oh man, this card's pretty good. But
well, the way it also like combos with that, I think it's Springheart Nantuko. The way it like works with that card,
Nantuko,
is so crazy.
So
I think they didn't understand how good that card was.
Yeah,
I feel like that card should have read once per turn at best. I don't think they fully understood how broken they were making it. They're like, I think it felt like they were like, oh, this is gonna be like a way to deter people from like killing your guys and getting nothing out of it, or like no punishment. And it's like, no, dude, like this is like the new Oko. Oh, we thought people were gonna do this, but they actually did this.
Yeah,
it's like you didn't think about the other thing that's like way freaking better.
They did this. Yeah, so I
mean, even Commander like CEDH, Nadu's like already one of the best commanders.
That doesn't surprise me.
It's pretty broken.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. And I was listening to Jacob Negro, like when I was watching him play the Nadu deck, and like he was like, okay, so we can keep playing if you want, but just so you know, and he's playing against Eldrazi-tron, David Gonzalez, Eldrazi-tron, and he's like, I am going to target this. I'm going to get all of these cards. I'm going to besage you everything you have, but we can keep playing if you want. And he was like, oh, okay. And I was like,
I love that.
And when he said that, I was like, wow. That does, like, that was the first time that I really felt the power of Nadu, was listening to him explain what he was going to do.
Yeah.
I was like,
he's like, I'm gonna do this. It's like the thing Adam was saying, where he's like, you can keep playing with your cards, but I have 20 damage. No, it's true. Like, Nadu's just cracked. Like, it's insane the board states these guys get with the card. There's just so much value. Why do the lands come in untapped? I don't understand.
Oh, yeah, I think that also would have changed.
There's just so many parts to the card that are like, somebody didn't read this card
right,
beginning to end.
Yeah, or like got to the printer too late, and they're like, we can't change it now. Push through.
Yep. But to be fair, every Modern Horizon so far has one ban if it gets banned, and like that's not that bad.
Yeah,
like Hogak was insane, and actually Hogak had better numbers. Pro Tour Hogak was like kind of criminal.
Yeah,
Hogak did way better than Nadu.
Was Hogak like 30% of the meta?
I don't remember, but it was a higher percentage of meta and Winninger.
Yeah, because I think that we saw it's either
and we saw like Hogak and Legacy right after. So
yeah, it was like 57 or 59% that like win rate of day one.
I should have looked it up. That's my bad.
For Nadu, I think it was 57.
Yeah, 57% win rate for Nadu. Yes.
Yeah. So
across the field.
Yeah. So that is pretty high. But the only thing that I wanted to like close all of this with is that I do agree with what you're saying. I would not be wildly surprised if they didn't ban anything.
Yeah.
Like if they actually banned it, I'd be like, I was hoping for this, and wow.
Yeah.
But if they don't ban it, I'd be like, well, makes sense.
Let us know what you guys think.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? Am I tripping? No bans is dumb. Frank Wright, are they just going to ban Nadu right after the Nerd Rage tournament or whatever? And like first place is going to be a Nadu deck, and the guy in Legacy is going to be playing Nadu.
Well, I'll just say this. If Nadu is being played, like, you're playing Modern, I'll play Standard. That's the deal. If we know that
Nadu prepping for Modern, then
if we know that Nadu is staying,
well, it's going to be legal for that tournament.
It will be legal for that tournament, right? Yeah. So
I guess I'll start practicing
that'll
Modern.
be all for you,
You heard it here.
Well, I actually checked. Jeskai Control Wizards did okay against Nadu.
Yeah,
it was like one of the few
supposed to be good against Nadu, and then it just didn't. Well, the other version just didn't.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know if that's an anomaly or if that day was just like lining up for them, you know? Because obviously we saw Javier Dominguez draw like his whole freaking deck and not hit the cards.
And not hit the cards he needed.
So like maybe it was just killer variants, or maybe they just didn't have enough tech because they had all the Storm hate.
Yeah.
But with that being said, the episode's getting kind of long. We did want to have one last section to add. Really important figure in the Magic community. I believe his name is, I always mess up his last name.
Kai Budde.
Budde, yes, Kai Budde. I always mess up the last name.
I got you.
I've been calling him Buddy for so long, but I just I never listen to the commentators. I watch Magic on mute, so like I never hear the names. I thought Ellie was Eli for the longest time, but yeah, so. It's my apologies, but this guy, living legend. For those who don't know who he is, we're gonna get into it. But it was recently announced, and we're gonna post the link to this video from the Magic event in the description. Frank will get to that, and then I already posted the link in Discord in our general chat. If you want to watch the video, it's like 7 minutes long, super worth watching. All the pros are there, and Huey is gonna do a lot better job of me. I'm going to try to ramble off some statistics for you guys, but he had a really good speech for him and actually held it together. I was getting a little choked up listening to it, watching the video, but the Player of the Year award that normally gets handed out, which Kai Budde is actually a recipient of, is being renamed, and it's going to be known as the Kai Budde Player of the Year award going forward, or Player of the Year trophy, I believe they call it. I call it award, but I'm pretty sure it's a trophy.
Yeah, it's a trophy.
So he's going to be the namesake of the trophy, kind of like Arthur Ashe if you watch the ESPYs, which is very cool because I'm a big fan of that as well. And typically the recipients of this award are good people and they're very good Magic players. So the result of this is because, unfortunately, Kai Budde is actually terminal with cancer and he's only like 43 or 44. So they're pretty sure, I mean, obviously his family and friends are the ones that know all the details, but we're pretty sure it's not going to be long. And that's really unfortunate because he's a really good dude and everybody loves him. The German juggernaut, long time player. And I'm just going to read off some stats that I pulled up from his wiki just so that the players that don't know who he is can get a little bit of like some reminiscent about the past. I even printed out his old like World Championship deck from 1999 just to see what legacy looked like for some of the players back in the day. Because I don't know if anybody, I mean, most people might know Masticore, but nobody knows Covetous Dragon. I mean, I forgot the name of this card over and over. It's like Covetous Dragon's 4 and a red for a 6/5 flyer that like you have to sacrifice it if you don't have any artifacts, I'm pretty sure. And then like Karn Silver Golem, which, hey, OG Karn, you know, that's the truth right there. Just a really cool deck, and it was like one of those gold border decks you get with the player signatures, etc. Just an awesome deck, and if you look at the deck list, it's like way different what Legacy looked like in 1999.
Yeah, it almost looks like if you were playing a draft deck and you just happen to get 4 of some of these cards, like that's kind of what it looks like.
Like I got, Grim Analyst is obviously a crazy card, but it's like 4 Curse Scrolls, 4 Fire Diamonds,
4 Thran Dynamos, 1 Power Stones.
Yeah, hey, Thran Dynamo is a house, okay? Put some respect. But yeah, it's like, hey, and it also has Ancient Tombs and City of Traders. So like, the deck would be insanely expensive nowadays.
So expensive, crazy expensive.
But yeah, so anyways, I'm not gonna do this as well as Huey, obviously, like I said, so watch the video. But he's widely considered one of the 2 best players in the world. Actually, I think it was like top 3 with Yuya Watanabe before he cheated with Tron. Yuya was my favorite player, and then he cheated with my deck. I was so sad. But yeah, so obviously the other player is John Finkel, for those that don't know, Johnny Magic and the German Juggernauts, what they used to call them, and they are probably the top 2. I mean, I like to sim for Reed Duke, but these guys, like these 2 are like the best. He even had like, I pulled the wiki and it was so funny because going through bulk we'll find these sometimes, like the old Pro Tour cards where they would put the player on the card itself and it's like Pro Tour blah blah, and it's like Kai Budde like that and everything. Like I'm like, oh, I missed those, man. Like they should do that again, like the player profile cards that you used to get.
Yeah,
those are awesome. But anyways, 12 top 8s at Pro Tours, 7 of which he got first place at. So he's got the most Pro Tour wins of any player with 7. 15 Grand Prix top 8s, 7 of which he won, which makes him first place as well, but I believe he's tied for first place on this one. The 7 Pro Tour victories he got were in a 3.5 year span from like 1999 to 2002, I believe, which Huey was like, that's a 6-month average. Every 6 months, this guy was winning the Pro Tour. Top finishes in events in 4 different decades now, as of 2020s. And when he won in 2001, the Magic Invitational, he got the namesake card for him, Void Mage Prodigy, which is his likeness. And actually Kai, for his birthday, had me bring him some of those as well. So I picked some up and then I went straight to the dinner. And he's like, don't forget my Void Mage Prodigies. I was like, of course, I got you, bro. Which was really cool. And I was like, are you actually playing this? He's like, no, it's just because of Kai Budde. I was like, okay. I was like, because like Wizards, you know, like, for those who don't know, Void Mage Prodigy is a blue wizard that has blue stack a wizard counter a spell, and it's like a morph for a blue.
Yeah,
so like it's a cute card. I was just, so I was like, wait, are we actually playing this in Modern because of Jeskai Wizards? I haven't seen the list. And he's like, no. I'm like, okay. I'm like, thank you.
Please.
And I heard he was telling me how people were buying Juggernauts, the German Juggernauts, because that's what his nickname used to be.
Yeah.
And then he was named at one point. He had the nickname as well, and besides that, King of the Grand Prix, because he had won 3 Grand Prix just in 1999 alone. So like, I looked at his like wiki page, and it was like 12 tournaments, and it was like first. I was like, Jesus, like stats, bro. Like,
yeah, stats.
Hall of Famer, Player of the Year, and a World Champion. Just an absolute legend of the game. It kind of hit hard too for me because, like, obviously, talked earlier about the why Winter's mom couldn't come to vacation with us, and we just found out her father also has really bad cancer, and it's also terminal. So it's like, that kind of stuff is like the worst, you know. So it really,
cancer sucks.
Yeah, I know, it's just the worst. Normally I don't get emotional unless I'm watching anime. So if you ever want to see me cry like this, just put on Naruto. But man, no, I really, it's just painful, man. So like when I heard about that, I was like, damn, dude, like what the heck? It's always like the best guys.
Yeah, it's always like the kindest souls.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know what it is, man. I'm not really religious. I know you are a believer. So like if there's ever like a spiritual reason, I'd love to know in the future. But like, man, like it's always like the coolest freaking guys that end up with it. And so it's really painful. And show some respect, you know. If you never heard of Kai Budde, watch some of his gameplay videos. You know, that's he's a freaking legend. And you know, tell your loved ones you love them, man. That's all it is. You know, Magic is a card game. You gotta have some fun. Go out there and have some fun with your homies.
Yeah.
I think that shit too serious.
I think one of the things that was really standing out to me as I was listening to that video just about Kai Budde was that it wasn't just about, hey, there's this Magic player, he is incredibly accomplished, et cetera, but with all of his great accomplishments, they said that there was no one else that made their teammates feel better.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if the top dog makes the people around him be like,
that's a true leader, you know. It's like
that is
lifting up the troops.
Yeah, that is true leadership, and that's.
It was crazy because like I really look up to like Reed Duke.
Yeah.
And when they're announcing the thing, if you watch the video, you see Reed Duke like balling out for Kai Budde. So I'm like, damn, bro, like that's, you know, that's his mentor.
Right.
And I'm over here looking up to these guys, and they're just like watching them, you know, like, dude.
Yeah.
Rough times. It really is unfortunate. So all we can do is, you know, pray for them, whatever you do, whatever it's your spiritual mojo. Hope for the best, you know, hope whatever treatments are going on, give them the most best quality, prolonged life as possible. And, you know, look out for your homies. Make sure you're telling them you love them, you know?
Yeah.
And try not to hold too many grudges. That's all I can say. I feel like after turning 30, I finally learned.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like I don't know. You say that and it makes it sound like we're old, but there is something about hitting 30 where you're like, man. I've
already got a little bit personal, so I'll open up a little bit more. Obviously I have a kid and he lives in Florida, so I try to go to Florida as much as possible to visit him, but he lives with his mom. And I mean, he lives down there because obviously his mom and I didn't get along in the past, but we were like teenagers when we were together, and it was so easy to be like, oh, this sucks, you suck, blah, 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 whatever. But like growing up for me felt like, you know what? What's the point? Why fight? Why be angry? The past is the past. You can't really change it. Who you are as a person is the result of the path you chose, or the path life put you on, whatever. For the stuff you could control, you controlled it. And for the stuff that you couldn't control, you can only handle it the way you choose to handle it.
Yeah.
And so now her and I get along super well. We just had an awesome time in Florida. We hung out pretty much every day. And she was even telling Winter, like, she's like, I just love where we're at now. It's so awesome. I'm happy for you guys. We tell them all the time we're happy for them. And everything just like works out, you know? And so it's like, well, you can't have gotten that without putting the work in, without just being willing to love and care and not be hateful and spiteful and resentful and holding on to grudges. Just put put it away, swallow your pride, move on with your life. You can definitely get there. I always tell my buddies, like, especially when they're in a bad spot, I've been in really bad spots. Like, your support system will help you, but the work you put in will pay off. It really, really will.
And I know that he's not doing this for me, but part of it is for me. For those of you that don't know, on the podcast, I wasn't like planning on sharing this today, but my wife and I are getting divorced. And it's been tough. And Stan's been here for me to like just listen to me about all the different things that are going on. But you kind of said this the other day, is that like, even though right now it's hard and, you know, trying to do the logistics, finding my own place by myself, like just feeling kind of the hurt of some of the things that didn't work.
Right.
I know that maybe 5 years down the road from now, I will be like thanking her.
Yeah.
For, you know, we're still on pretty good terms now, I'd say, comparatively.
Yeah.
To
and
most
that's
people,
good, honestly, because it's so easy to just be like, oh, fuck that. You know, like,
yeah, like you're the worst. I'm gonna leave with everything I can. You know, it's gonna be a grab, you know, to the finish, and it hasn't been that way. But it is like sometimes things don't just work out, and you put in like the work you could, and you couldn't figure it out, and you walk away. But I do think that like in the future, it's gonna be like, when I find the person and it becomes the right thing, I'm going to be like, man, back when I was in it, when I was, you know, almost when I was a couple months from 30, I was like, it's over. But now I'm like, whoo.
Yeah.
Like,
and honestly, it's like, kind of to bring it back to Magic, it's easy to play the blame game. And it can be that way with Magic too, when you're playing tournaments. You're like, oh, the variance, oh, my opponent got lucky, oh, this and that. Like, you have to learn to put the onus into yourself. You have to bring your quality up internally, and it will start spreading from there. I have been the player in the past where I'm like, oh, I would have won except this happened. You know what I mean? And it's like, once I was willing to let go of that, and the confidence started growing. Like, oh, I'm just going to show up and play. And sure, you make some mistakes occasionally, but like, actually, Tommy, who we had on the podcast way a long time ago, back when I first joined.
We're bringing back soon.
We'll be bringing him back soon, if he's still willing, obviously. But foreshadow. He actually had a really good point in the group chat, because some of like the more casual players were talking about the situation with Dominguez and Simon. Simon specifically.
Simon Nielsen.
Them messing up. They were like, how do you mess that up at that level? You're a pro player. And it's like, Simon was like, listen, if you played an entire 15 tournament like that high level, you're butting heads with some of the best guys, really, really struggling, and you look back on the day and you don't find a mistake, you didn't look hard enough. You probably did make a mistake.
Absolutely.
And he was even saying for the event we're going to talk to him about next time, that at that event, the guy that won the tournament was beating himself up like every single round. He's like, I missed this trigger, or I messed that play up, but he was just winning, but still beating himself up over the stuff he messed up on. And that guy was like the first place player. Yeah. It's like the best players are going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. Just don't let it beat you up and consume you. Just acknowledge it and just get better, you know? Yeah.
So I guess with that in mind, we can kind of wrap this whole thing up in a bow.
We went way longer than I expected.
Yeah. Well, we always say this one will be short. This one will be short. This one will be short. I promise. And it never is, but it's okay. We got to some good stuff here. It's just, I think that the important thing is like, right, we're all here. We're playing Magic. We're trying to get better. This is our hobby. We're gonna do it for fun. Do it with your friends. Like, please, at the end of the day, do this for fun.
Yeah, because and play the team events. Because holy crap,
because that's like why we play this. We don't make we're not making boohoo money playing Magic. It's just like something that we enjoy doing. So if you get to a place, I was talking to someone about this today, this on like Friday. It was Reed actually. I think he was like, "Look, man, I've been in a slump and I'm starting to get like angry and I just need a break." And I'm like, "Then you need a break."
Yeah,
because this is what we do to like get away from all the other garbage. And then beyond that, it's like, look, we all have something coming. Really tell your loved ones you love them and give them the time.
Yeah.
Because it matters.
Call your mother.
Yes, please just do it. I know she, talks to you about 2 sentences worth of stuff instead of just shooting a text message. But it means a lot just for her to hear your voice.
With that being said, homies, unless you got more to say.
No, I was gonna get into wrap up.
Get some shout outs out there.
Yes.
Shout outs, MTG Chicago. Please check out his channel. He's got awesome gameplay. He has all of our weekly Magic gameplay on his channel. If you want to see some cool gameplay, whatever decks Frank's bringing over. Actually, you're gonna be starting to play Standard again too pretty soon with
Modern. Yep.
Bloomborough, and he's been playing Modern now that he has Jeskai Wizards, which is cool. And Sal lets us borrow the cameras that we used to record, so we're really grateful. I think we have like 3 of his cameras now because I try to record as much gameplay for him as possible, and I love putting my players on camera. It's a fun time. Shout outs to Todd, does the editing for us for free, and it's literally just pure work of love, labor that he does it because he wants there to be video quality for you guys. And eventually we'll upgrade our camera situation, but for now it's going to be the GoPros until we get a little bit more money, or maybe an affordable camera drops. Maybe some Black Friday sales, we'll see. And then shout out to Boris Hat Gaming as always. If you guys want to buy your products here, we really appreciate it. You can order on our website whenever it's working. Shout out to Crystal Commerce. But when our website's working, you can buy stuff on it and we'll happily ship it to you. We got Assassin's Creed coming up, but it's pretty low on product already. It's like selling fast. Bloomborough's coming up, Duskmorn. If you guys want to get product from us, let us know. We're super happy to get you guys the product you need.
Cracking Nadus now before they're banned.
Yeah, Modern Horizons, man, get it while it's hot, man. It's the EV behind the set is awesome, and we have a ton of singles. We did rip a bunch of packs of Modern Horizons 3. So if you want to check out singles on our website, get them before Frank does, or Kai, or Jared, or whoever's sniping my website every day. And then shout out to the patrons. As always, really appreciate you guys' support. It really does mean the world to us that you guys are even with us, and the fact that you're willing to support the content, we're really grateful. For those that are just with us for the ride, the fact that you're subscribing, following in our Discord,
listen to this much of the episode,
watching 2 hours of our podcast, so really grateful for you guys as well. And then shout outs Nancy Steroids, intro and outro music, and the music when Frank streams. Anybody I'm missing?
That's it.
Otherwise, shout outs to our loved ones, man. Shout outs to your people, and make sure you call them. That's our show. Catch you guys next time.
Have a good one.